Expect anybody else?
Here, it's on.
Okay. All right. I'd just like to make a few opening comments. First of all, I appreciate everybody's hard work to pull all this together. I really think an 18% increase is going to be way too high for this community. And I think we should be doing everything in our power to try and get it down below 10%. There's a number of items within the budget as it sits right now that I think we have some possibilities to talk about. It's also, we have continued to encourage the board to tell residents about the Kanoa situation, and yet we haven't seen anything. So one of my thoughts is maybe we eliminate a few of these events that cost us money and blame it on Kanoa to keep the dues down at a reasonable number. So as we proceed through this over the next months or whatever, we may want to talk about that and think about it and
I think it's a good idea.
use it.
I mean, this is a special events budget.
Yeah.
I would cut it down to like $25,000.
Well, this is it. We'll get into.
Yeah, okay.
Go through it, but I appreciate it. It's just.
It's a luxury we can't afford.
Thinking about what Kanoa has done to the residents, and how much more they're gonna have to pay in dues because of their greediness, in my standpoint. It's something, we've got to be able to publicize and let the residents know that part of the reason that their dues are going up is because of Kanoa. So with that, yes.
I'll just respond to a couple of those things. In this document, Celebration Resident Owner Association Budget Narrative, there is the mention of the Kanoa in there in the second page, the paragraph. I'm not sure what the use of this is. Are we going to be sending this out?
No, it was just a summary for the committee and the board.
Okay. Preparing for 2026, that paragraph about Kanoa, I think is pretty well done. I think the one thing it's missing is the quantitatives. It talks about the qualitative and that they're not going to pay money anymore and it's going to shift over and blah, blah, blah. We need to put the quantitative in there so it really has, some substance to it. But it seemed to me that these first two pages potentially could go out, or just that little portion. And that would communicate the Kanoa situation. Did you read that?
I did a while back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing that's not in there, in that overview, is the 851 building. I mean, we don't say a thing about the 851 building, so that's the most material capital expense we're gonna have in a long time. So I think that should be a paragraph in here or something with that. But I think that could get out to the community now as a preview to the budget process. So,
We have an idea what it's really gonna cost us.
yeah, pretty close, right? 3.2.
I mean, that was their ROM.
Yeah.
We should have.
Right now,
Yeah,
but
we
it's
should have some, the sub bids are due back to collect by the end of July.
They call it an estimate. But anyway,
I think the range of these, I think I'm getting a thing for they say.
I don't want to get us off on that too much, but I think that should be the document that we use to get communication up.
Yeah, I think.
One other thing, I just wanted to mention, this has no bearing on this budget, but just as a community note, CDD had consensus on passing a 17.8% increase to their budget. So that is also out in the community.
Yeah. All predicated on sidewalks.
Of course.
Mike, what do you mean by the sidewalk thing?
They're replacing all the sidewalks. They're spending $2 to $3 million a year on sidewalks right now for the unforeseeable future.
They kind of need to do it. The sidewalks are dangerous and terrible.
Bad, yeah.
What about tree trimming on the trees that they own? Are they gonna?
Let's not get too far off topic here.
But it's part of their
Yeah,
inaction that's inadequate action.
They were trimming trees this week on Celebration Avenue.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Excellent.
One thought just on the target range for us, 18%, is it under 10%? I think, we're gonna have 8 or 9% built in from the CJC situation, the Canoa transfer, coupled with the reserve, if we stay at 1.4. Now, we may find some groundwork there, but let's say we cut that down by half, we're still gonna have probably 5, 6, 7% kind of a fixed base. Then you consider normal operating costs and inflation and everything else. So I think it's very plausible that we're gonna be in the low single digits, double digits, 11, 12, 13, somewhere in there.
Well, you're
Not sure we're down to 10.
just the reserve in Canoa, and there's not really much wiggle room on either of those.
I think there is some wiggle room. We
I
can
do
get to
too.
that point.
Yeah, I do.
There.
I
But
think we do.
I think, to your point though, as far as targets, I think whether we can reach them or not, we'll find out.
We will.
But it's either under a 10% increase and under a 3-digit dollar increase. It's one of those two, just putting it out there, that would be the ideal scenario if we can reach it.
Yeah, it's,
Yes. And then just, I don't know, I was gonna go, you finish your comments.
I don't,
So just a couple things that I was looking at, I kind of, in looking at what was presented so far, I see 4 areas that we look at. So there's the CJC budget, which has about a $400,000 increase as of right now, which is about $82 per homeowner. The second piece is the capital improvement, which that's increasing about $32. But if you go back to 2024, that's actually an increase of $127. So I think there's some opportunity there, which we can discuss when we get to it. Reserve is increasing by $358,000. That's about a $73 increase. I think there's some wiggle room there, which we can discuss at that point. And then and that makes up about 78% of the overall increase. The last piece would be everything else on the Kroll budget, which is about a $53 increase. So within the capital and reserve, I think there's opportunity there that we can adjust things to be less of a burden on homeowners. CJC, that may be difficult in what we can work with, and that's probably going to be a difficult spot. And then obviously the Kroll budget, we would have the opportunity to shift things accordingly. So, but there's not as much juice to squeeze on that.
just to clarify, capital side, where do you see that increasing? I mean, what we get from the capital fee goes in the budget and then out of the budget.
The resident contribution didn't change from year to year. It's just the capital, it's the 0.5% that's increasing. That's a full pass through.
Do you want to jump right into that, or do we want to just
No,
finish?
it's
gonna come up.
the only cost to the residents is the 500,000.
Yeah, which I think
Which is-
that's something in question.
Yeah, we can talk about that as well, but that's when we get there.
Which again, that's where, there's discussion about cutting events, is the Canoa cost sharing agreement, that capital expenditure of 500,000 goes to zero, and we increase that if we have wiggle room for a percentage increase at the end of the day. And we only trust right now, 1.6 million budget, but from your calculations that were provided, I think it's closer to 1.4. So you strip out the 500,000, you put it up to 1.4. That's the baseline to start. And then as we go through the reconciliation, the actual homeowner contribution is at 100,000, 200,000, something in between, but definitely less than 500.
I'm reluctant to play around too much with the capital. We're gonna basically drain our capital fund with the 851 building. To start backing off the contribution that we're getting from the homeowners, I just think that would be a bad decision. I'd rather push through a percentage increase that's maybe not as palatable, but keep that whole. Because I think we've got so much work to do. If you want to get amenities and you want to build out the master plan, it's just what we're gonna have to do. And I think I would trade out an increased percentage and hold that $500,000 contribution from the residents, but we'll talk about that.
Yeah, we'll talk about it, because another big thing is, what the housing market's going to do. And we don't really know what's going to happen.
Do we have current information from Matinee on that point, and what they, with good confidence, can tell us what homes they're gonna sell over the next, to the remainder of this year and project to 26?
Tanner didn't want to give a projected number.
Yeah, no,
And I don't think we should count on any money. It should be done on a cash basis.
Wait, deal with the facts. How many homes are under contract already?
27 out of 44 and
Well, I got 50%.
We have to be go slow, not fast, you know.
yeah, actually 28, one other one is under. So 28 out
So I
of
mean, the market, we're a desirable area.
I-
Sales, build are slow other places, but that's facts, 28 out of 40,
82,
82.
82.
Okay.
So, and that's townhomes and homes. that-
Yeah, right. I had one other radical but different idea where I was looking at cutting payroll costs. And I would eliminate positions, whether it be inspectors and things like that, that if we want to have amenity programs and spend money in amenities, we should cut inspectors, because in this time, while we can inspect, we don't do very much with it down the road. And I would cut the money and use the money for more dear and near purposes that actually improve quality of life in the neighborhood than inspectors.
A long compensation, that's something that I kind of scratched my head when I saw this is how are we putting on another 400 houses, yet compensation isn't changing? So when we get to that, I think that's where some explanation from Grand Meadows should be as far as I thought the whole process was there was going to be another inspector to do Island Village, not keep it the same or reduce compensation. So I get where you're coming from, where I think it'd
Only
be
numbers.
nice to cut some, but for the operation of the community, I don't think that's a possibility.
Or you could change somebody and dedicate someone
Yeah.
over there and reduce other areas, but keep the overall head count the same. I just think we should save money on inspectors. While that's important, it's not important when we're in pain in different areas with the budget.
Inspectors can't really adjust right now. We had in-depth conversations about do we add another inspector this coming year? We decided to hold off for 26. because We don't know how many homes are going to be fully live in 26. And we feel confident with that with the current number that we have, we can accommodate what we anticipate to be additional doors coming on in Island Village and still meet our contractual metric numbers.
Lauren, of the 400, how many of those are going to be true inspections versus they're not going to be required because they're townhomes?
I mean, we still do inspections of townhomes, they're just not as extensive, so. I think the number of home doors in phase 2 is like 200 or something like that, 2A and B.
It's a 50 split.
Yeah. Yeah,
Because then, I'm just curious what
With this.
from a house to a townhome, what the work requirement would be as far as
Yeah, I mean,
how you would
the
allocate a different person.
homes are much more expensive versus the townhomes because that's kind of a shared responsibility with the service area team.
okay, why don't we, do you want to just start walking through it so we can talk through it? Did you keep your 12-month projected for 25?
I did not update it for the 5 month.
Okay, that's something,
It does need to be updated, but for the first conversation, I didn't want to change what was originally sent out, so there weren't too many versions floating around and people didn't get things mixed up.
okay. The first thing, the capital improvement assessment, based upon a projection that I put together, I've got it at $1,456,250.
Yeah, but I was playing around with some numbers with you. I think you had like originally 830 at 375.
Yeah.
Which I'm in line with the 375, that I think that's appropriate, where it was 350 in the past, which I think is really conservative this past year.
Yeah.
But I think 25 additional, I think is appropriate,
Yeah.
makes sense. So on the actual count, I think that's in line. Just playing with some numbers, if we do an 830 and we are a little bit conservative and take a 10% reduction, just for who knows what the future is gonna bring.
Unit?
No, the median sale price,
Sitting,
the median sale price.
Sale price.
So that's about 830. So take 10% out, that's about 750. If you do 750 by the 375, that's about 1.4 million. So Jim's was at 1.45 million, is 1.4 million appropriate? Somewhere in between, I think that's fine in that range that I could use.
I think that's right. We've got a historical number of in the 300 range. When I still count on 300 and Mattany's putting in 339 new homes. And I thought, well, when we did some capital projections, I thought we'd figure a third over the next 3 years. You're certainly gonna build that out in 3 years. That'd give you another 100 homes to the base in the first year. So 300 plus the 119, I'm thinking 400 is the right number. And I think we gotta be careful we don't get too conservative in the income areas and then get real aggressive in the expense areas, because we're gonna cause ourselves a lot of pain. It's not gonna reflect reality when we go through. It seems like we're hedging our bet right here. I mean, 400 is a no-brainer for next year. We're gonna be, how much this year? How many homes are gonna sell just, if you just straight lined it? Probably just a minute.
And how many homes are those resales versus new homes in that? So just,
I got a bad number there, but I think it's like 380. That's without the Mattamy homes. We're gonna do that this year. There'll be a few Mattamy homes and not many.
Based on the number of sales divided by number of months, the 25 projected is 400.
so your phone number has 400.
2025 projected resales.
Yeah. So I mean, we got a whole slew of in development coming in, so if we can't have 400 again, I think we'd be crazy.
Well, 2022, you were at 530, and that was when they began heavily selling phase one.
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily advocating for that number, I'm just saying in terms of.
If you plug in 400, what does that look at?
Well, it's 1.6 basically, because you figure 800,000. I think the 700's way off, obviously. But at 800,000, it was 823 when you looked at the last time, or 834 or something like that.
Where are they through mid-year in 2025? Do we know?
What's that?
Do we know where they are in the mid of July of 2025?
318 homes were due. Based upon what is as of today, that could go up.
That's just Mattamy new sale.
No, that's all the resales in
Full market.
operation.
Also,
I see, okay.
We've typically had a 8 or 9% turnover just in the base. Now we're gonna have another 339 homes coming in over the next couple, 3 years.
There's 144 on the market, with less 22 that are pending if they actually move through. So that there's quite a few. There's a lot of those are condos, just because of the rates of condos going up and everything. But
Remember, this has nothing to do with the homeowners. This is a pass-through. So we're just coming up with a number that it's gonna be in the capital fund for planning.
Well, it comes out of sales proceeds.
No,
You're talking about the 0.5%?
yeah,
yeah, that's referencing how much.
that passes right through.
Just directly.
Bottom line, it's subtracted up.
No, estimating it to have it be funded. We're still putting in the capital reserve fund, so we're taking it out of revenue, putting it in the capital improvement fund. I understand, but it's saying that still helps meet the obligation that we're gonna have on fixing the 851 and other things.
Well, yeah.
It was at 1.2. If we do this right now, we're 1.4 to Jim. I don't know how far you're gonna push it. If you want to go up to 830 or 800 or 750, something in that range, that gets it up to 1.5, 1.6. Then you can chop out that $500,000 capital contribution that we can then offset the CJC cost and other things, while this is kind of the driver of the capital.
I will contact.
Interesting.
See if I can get a
Mattamy public company.
better answer as what their problems are.
Well, we know the sale price is 834 year to date. Something like that.
Yeah,
Most time.
it was 830 through May,
Okay.
but in June, it was only 727, so it's good.
I
At
think
the
we
station count though, I mean, that's
So we,
727 for 10 houses versus we're at 830 for 100, right? Just because it's down for 1 month doesn't mean it's gonna be.
727 from 19 homes that were sold.
So. You know what that new number looks like? Yeah.
Still tracking June.
Well, this whole slug of new ones coming in. Obviously, what are those time homes going for?
where's the shaft, the schedules, the existing resale,
What are those?
and Mattamy.
Anywhere from 625.
Summarize it together and take them to those separate calculations. I think We should not
You just sold one
blend them together.
19 that they paid 424.
Well, I, the prices just could be,
Is it off of the?
No. Half,
So we know what that truly is gonna be or for July when that comes on.
oh, no, that's when they start paying dues. They don't pay the capital. They start paying assessments when they file the plats, when they sell the homes.
Yeah, I guess, do we know what the range of the sale would be? To your point, are we on $1 million plus?
No,
or-
that's what Jim just said. It's gonna 600-700 range, so they are gonna be a little more, it sounds like, but we still got the base of other homes. I thought these would be higher, but he's saying they're not.
So the new homes down here are gonna be lower this year.
The townhomes, single family homes will
The
go,
single family, all their,
how many single family versus townhomes are there in this basket of 339 homes?
Oh, said it was like a 50-50 split, 200 and 200.
Phase one.
so through June, we're at an average price of home of about 818,000
Get it, everything.
per.
And thinking about it, right, we started at 350, this is only an additional 50 that we're kind of accounting for Island Village. So if that split, you're talking 830 and 680, you're still in that 750 range for that additional 50 we're putting in the budget. So it shouldn't drag it down too much.
Well,
No, and believe me, this again is a lot of condos being,
So 2A has 38 townhomes and about 40 single family, so almost 50-50.
for those townhomes are models, so.
You're right, they're not gonna sell.
I don't think we're gonna have any trouble if we're at 400 and we go 750 or whatever it is.
Can you plug in 750 just to see?
Just short of 1.6.
It's hard to get in.
I mean, based upon what's been sold through June, if we just double that, it's only gonna be about 320 homes.
I'm good with the 1.5 plug
1.5.
for now, and then we can visit it after.
and that's
Yeah, because again, this is,
existing neighborhood
it doesn't have an impact on the budget, it just has an impact on whether we're gonna lower the 500,000.
Right.
But if you start to think about, you wanna know where that's gonna be,
Oh, and
some
some
active, start to buy down the assessment with capital funds.
It would be nice if we had.
Or not putting capital, not putting
Right, no.
500 in. How do I do it? Find it. So,
Yeah.
do you wanna make sure we know where we are and we don't wanna be double conservative and then
Right.
start cutting that thing?
I agree. Okay, can we move?
Oh, just one thing, on the chart, the summary chart. The homes for 2025 show 44,559.
Too bad.
That's numbers wrong if you divide the total revenue by,
It's because we anticipated more doors than actually exist.
so you forced it, why wouldn't we just leave that? We anticipated the doors, they're all gonna be in this year, why would we leave that in the base?
And I can put it back. These were just,
Then what you need to do, if you don't wanna do that, then you need to go out and the revenue's gotta change. Because that budget number should be projected, because you're not gonna hit that number, you know that. That's the old number. Because then it shows we go from 4559 to 4898.
we'll adjust it.
I was trying to.
That's the number of doors that pay dues, is that what that number is?
There's 252 doors that haven't been platted that were anticipated to be platted.
So it will next month,
Allegedly,
allegedly.
And that's 200.
I wouldn't count it till we know.
we're down to 15. So 15 is what he said. I mean, December, we were March, and then we were July. So
Reasonably, they wouldn't be plotted in let's say by the end of the third quarter.
I.
It's 7 months
Just in
delayed
there.
in the first.
They're gonna have to do it relatively soon, just because all the development that they've already done there, all the infrastructure is almost in. And in order to,
For section 2.
yeah. They've been working on that quite a bit. because now they've got construction going on in phase 2A. So phase 2B, which is bigger, they've got all the bigger trucks going in there and putting everything down and all the wiring and everything. So
I'm just concerned about overcounting revenue before it's actually gonna be materialized, that's all.
Trust me, you're not overcounting revenue.
It should be in by the end of the year. That's the thing that for
If it doesn't-
26.
if it doesn't
still
come,
6 months for the-
Then it'll be fine by then. I know last year we got.
It's already to be, should be.
Well, I think what Mattamy was representing to the committee and the board was different than what they were actually.
No, it's one plan.
That's where, yeah, that I think was Mattamy's communication to us of expectation.
So question, the 252 is a subset of the 339?
I have to go back and look at the number.
Just trying to tie this out of my head because the numbers are all over the board here on that plat count or the lot.
Yeah, you're gonna have to let me look at that and I can email it out.
The way the numbers look, it looks like 2025 should be 4905. That would then give you the 339. So
That's
take a look at it, but I guess my other point is we're not looking at another 252 over and above the 339. That, those other sections aren't coming in yet. This is all part of that 339. So the 252 is part of the 3.
How are you getting to your 409 number? What was that?
I'll clean up the detail for the summary page and resend.
Divide the
You're
revenue.
7 houses though.
You divide the revenue to 6386, 6.3
Mhm.
by the 1302. That'll get you 4905 versus that number. Yeah, it's 4905.
Okay.
Then you go from. Wait a minute.
But I think 48, 98 for next year. We're comfortable with that number. But that's a 339 that. What, 87 is already done, and the other 252 is coming.
Okay.
So.
okay. Start with other income. You just walk down. Of course, I've put numbers, I've got my numbers that are based upon the change in the projection based upon me. So I have late payment charges down 18,000, late finance charges down 12,000.
So I guess we're gonna look at that, right? On late payment charges, we have it for 30,000. Seems like we've ranged anywhere from 30 to 60,000. So is that figure too conservative and should we bump that up? Maybe 10,000?
With all the trouble we seem to have collecting
That's
dues,
something is what's lendable.
I move it up to.
Because if we don't have a track with collecting, we could book it gross and have an allowance for bad debts. We, you know,
Well, again, right, I mean, 2023, we collected 31,000, 2024, we collected 43,000, and then
Okay, so
grant match projections are 60,000 this year.
up to 40. Okay. The big item I see in that section is the interest income. And I know that's to reflect the payment we're gonna have for the
Yeah.
851.
That's why there's the note here that we would like your input on your thoughts.
When do you think we're gonna pay for it?
851, you're gonna have probably a down payment in a couple of months. So their anticipated timeline currently is they'll have initial sub bids back to collect by the end of July, which then would then put those and the D'Angelo's Diamond contract in front of the board in the August meeting, which then I would anticipate an initial upfront payment in September.
Do you have anything per the contract? Is it a third up front or?
I don't have the contract. I don't have the,
Pretty common.
it's with their,
The third.
their legal team.
is that percent complete after that? And there's initial.
There's there's milestone payments.
So you figure it's probably $1 million on the payments each time roughly. And the other two payments will fall into next year. We'll probably lose about half the year. invested.
So then you also have the splash pad that will be fully paid for this year, which is 600,000.
Right, but that'll, the capital fund fees keep coming in. See, will help offset some, of it, especially with splash pad, not 851 as much. But that all depends on what kind of other capital projects are going to be done next year.
Right.
Or held off because what's going on.
Maybe not.
Yeah, I was thinking somewhere of $1 million to $1.5 million of a balance, earning say 4%. That's kind of the range for next year of what I see, not accounting for what we already have that is earning a higher rate.
That'd be $60,000. They got to cut by 80, pretty much just cut in half, right?
Hey, don't you think rates have been now?
Right, I mean,
That's just, that's interest income.
3.5%, you know, maybe more realistic.
You want to go to 60?
I would.
Yeah, do any of us like interest income and then
We're putting away.
you're gonna have less cash because you spend a lot of money and you're gonna have lower rates than what you get.
So over 5 months, we'd get one of the payments made that way. So I think we'll catch up a little bit. I'd leave it where it is probably.
I'm okay with it right now, and we see what,
Okay.
if they do get the contract in time, then we can adjust it accordingly later in the process.
If you guys go giving away all our capital that the residents are paying, then we gotta change it. You can't start giving away all that capital. Okay.
So one thing that management did want to discuss in terms of the other income line is the service area maintenance fee. This is a fee that CROA charges back to the service area separately. That's a line item in each of their individual budgets. It's not currently a number that's tied to anything. It's just been increasing year over year by effectively CPI. We went through a similar exercise that we did with Canoa about what they should be paying to salaries, overhead, et cetera. We went through that exercise with the service area fees. If you tie that to the service area maintenance fee, this number goes up in terms of what the service areas are contributing to Canoa based on the staff time they utilize outside of CROA responsibilities. So it's just something, we have a subschedule that we'll send out to everybody that you guys can review, but that's something that you could consider in terms of now you have a hard connect of what you're tying this number to, and it does change you about a percentage point or so.
So it's about $70,000, $80,000. Go get it.
So that's a real number, that's a real number.
We're taking the hit. You did the study, the time study. We're taking the hit on the Canoa side. Let's get the money back on the service side. Alan said at least for the 3 parties.
Yeah. It was just something that we wanted to bring up to the committee because it is gonna impact the service area budget.
70,000 is real money.
So that puts it at what percent increase?
It was about a 1.5% drop to the percentage increase.
Okay.
What is that percentage increase for those service areas?
They're-
8% or?
You can't, it's not really by percentage as those change from 300 to 550 a month depending on the service area, but it's by a dollar amount per door.
It's about 14, 13%.
Okay.
Just 119 base.
Is that $20 a month for them or?
Hold on, I'm just,
Well, it depends.
I mean, it's nice to say 70, 80,000, yeah, let's do it, but how much burden is gonna be on those areas?
so instead of 219,572, it goes to 305,401. So that's a difference of, instead of 360,55 annually to 501,48 annually. So it's in,
It's up about $100,000 we just quoted. Now we're talking like 70, so up another 30. Yeah.
How's it calculated? If it's, how's it calculated to service area like Robinson Park? The club is not, is a one door, is it the units?
no, not, some Park as a whole is not part of this equation, just Parkview, just the town.
Right. Oh, okay, so it's 40,
Because they have dedicated staff to their,
47 doors. Okay,
this is the maintenance fee that you see in your service area budget.
got it, okay.
You said 305?
Yeah.
So On your surface area tab, how does that tie into the 395 analysis you provided us? Where did 90,000 go?
We were pulling out items to reduce the increase for the,
So then maybe just takeaway for us is from the 395 you provided to the 305, you're saying now. Let us know how you got a number of what you took out or what you will not count.
we're basically just counting salaries effectively instead of the other overhead.
But this is that holistic analysis,
It is.
the CJC and who should pay what. And this is an entity that should pay something. We pay something, Canoa pays something.
Yes.
We're gonna take our hit. Now, we're saying potentially we aren't gonna apply the analysis to this group.
Well, we're applying the analysis, just lessening the overhead. Because they are CROA facilities.
So this is not encompassing the additional that we did with Canoa as far as
Benefits burden. Insurance.
IT network insurance. So just based on usage of staff, it would come up to the 305.
Well, it's a very defendable number.
Yes,
Exactly.
yeah.
It could be, there's defense to raise it to 403 or 406. But that's, I mean,
But we're just sticking to the 305 and saying this is an easily defensible number.
So we took the pain, we took a markdown on it. Canoa gave us pain and now we're gonna take a markdown on this one. From the analysis. I mean, I'm just
Yeah.
stating the obvious.
I mean, we're providing you the information.
Yeah.
The,
You didn't want to make the call. You want us to make the call.
well, it's ultimately the board's decision, so.
Well, there's also, like, getting back to, there's a lot more townhomes coming on, so that,
We won't fully take those over.
Okay, let me suggest, we phase in half of it, use a 305 as the benchmark right now. We phase in $50,000 this next year, and we plan to phase in another 50 the year after, we just step them up.
You can do that. It's kind of what we did with Canoa this year. And facing it now.
Yeah, I think 100,000 is too much of a burden in 1 year for that group within the community.
Let's get 50 this year.
yeah, let's do 50.
I don't want to be inactive. I don't think we should be inactive on it, because we've got the information, we should have.
Well, they've
we've been getting-
they've been underpaying for the past so many years, so now I'm catching up, that's all.
More and
But the
more,
residents have been underpaying for so long too, we're just reconciling.
so more and more over the last 3 years, we've been getting a lot of pushback from the areas, what that number is and what it's tied to. So we felt this was a good year to start playing it to something.
Residents are underpaying what cents.
Okay, so that gets you to 269,572.
Okay,
Okay, well,
it's just short of a percentage.
Is late finance charges, I think we had 9,000 provided to us. Seems to be what, 10,000 in 2024, now we're projecting 25,000 this year, so. Is 9,000 too conservative and should we bump it up to 10,000, should we bump it up to 15,000? Is that appropriate?
I'd vote to bump it up. I know we're gonna have the cancellation of or put your privileges on hold. That probably is going to impact this somewhat. But I think it could be bumped up a little bit. That's going to take time for people to learn.
receivables.
The letters went out today.
Be interesting.
We don't know how they're going to react yet.
Right.
A lot of people could get in line. A lot of people could just say, the hell with it. I don't use the amenities anyway. There are probably people that are less engaged in the community, so it may not mean a lot to them. But the apartments, we've got a lever with the apartments, which is half the cash there in the account.
Oh, right. Some of the residents on their own who just are not paying the dues.
Yeah.
Right, and then it's the apartment rec fees,
They're
which
late.
are bigger. I was more talking about, is that number the majority for the apartment rec?
50% of the receivables, aren't they, right?
Yeah, 675,000.
That's real money.
I propose we raise the late finance charges to 15,000.
15,000.
15,000.
The other line item that I had a question on was covenant fees. So 2023, we were at 16,900. 2024, we were at 85,700. 2025 is $0 to date and projected. So what the heck is happening this year that covenant fees have fallen off entirely?
people are coming into compliance and they're appealing when, after they come into compliance and the board's waiving.
Can we influence the board not to waive so many covenant fees?
Yeah, good idea.
There's also the coupling of this is,
Using your auto pen, I bet.
this is the covenants team, including inspectors working more with homeowners to get them in compliance to, and which is reducing fees.
And over the years, we have bad track record, or we get to a point where we get to a reasonable conclusion on the issues, and then you don't collect it. So I'm not comfortable booking revenue the whole thing off the city.
So that was your point about not having more inspectors, because if we're not gonna collect, what's the point?
Well, exactly. I still think that. I think the both the. Yeah.
There's contractual requirements that they have to complete.
But the inspectors do spend a fair amount of time working with the residents to get them back in compliance, not just doing inspections.
That's a good thing. I mean, you work harder and have less, that's all. Save some money.
If you're gonna move it up, what would you do? What's the suggestion?
I see.
I'm not just trying to understand how much this is here.
I would keep
How to
it,
project that.
I would keep it where it was.
Like, keep it at 15,000, but I just.
If we're
That's fine.
riding them off, when people get in, then we shouldn't count your revenue we can't spend, right?
Here's your area. This is your baby.
I guess question on this one for Lauren is, it sounded like there was an attempt to get more annual sponsors, but then there's a note here that's saying we're getting rid of annual sponsors. So what's kind of the direction you're seeing?
We're all working towards getting sponsorships for specific events. The annual sponsorship concept just didn't prove as beneficial based on the amount of time, staff time that it takes to run those down, and there's more expenses tied to them. So we're, instead of doing annual sponsors, we're focusing on event specific sponsors.
Instead of been almost like an annual membership sponsorship, it's truly, this is the event, who are sponsors.
Yeah.
Correct. So it's going away entirely. It's just different allocation of revenue.
Yes.
Correct.
But just running through them for each event. Aloha to Summer, we're projecting we're gonna have a loss of 12,400. Annual meetings, we're spending $2,000 more than we did last year.
Catering's expensive.
The egg hunt, where you lose 17,900. The Fall Festival Spooky Soiree, we lose 27,000.
Oh, that's when you take the income versus the expenses.
Yes.
Over
Daughter,
to the events tab. That has the breakdown.
father-daughter dance is 15,000, we lost 17,500 this year.
We're investing. This is entertainment for their assessment, so we're investing, not losing.
So you gotta remember, we don't charge residents to attend these events.
So we get the revenue of sponsors from people. You know,
It's sponsors, food and beverage sales. Or vendor fees in some instances.
So the real money that we spend is under the park and recreation budget.
The events budget.
It's not the events, but
Oh,
We just deal with the subtotal lines. And if we decide. To the. Go through the individual ones are kind of.
So I will note that they did, for next year, they're not doing the Holiday Fest. In working with the committee, they're cutting down Food Truck Fridays to quarterly instead of monthly.
who decided that?
The committee. Special Events Committee.
What was the reason?
They're getting stale and just not high attendance.
If nobody attends them, I walk down to almost every one. There's no food trucks there.
We are looking at a different food truck vendor as well and modifying it so it will be more successful.
It's gonna take a while to build it back.
It is,
It's just,
yeah,
Where are they gonna be?
Lakeside,
Coming back.
yeah, they're coming
They were
back.
back
They were
this
back
last June.
Yeah,
that was a disaster up there.
if I look at the line items, Lauren, is it that if I take your general events income that ties to the general events expenses, so that's where we're
Yeah,
59,000 less the 243, that was the authority, with 160.
164.
Yeah, general,
For homeowner events, I think that's okay. I don't have.
I will also note next year is an anniversary year for Valentine's Day, so the expense is higher than we would normally have budgeted. Because there will be a resident only side and there will be a CCS event tied to it. We are actively working on getting more sponsorships and on a normal basis for that event.
160 net negative, that's not accounting for any sponsorship currently, or is there a plug-in for that?
No, the anticipated revenue is the
Trulies.
low end anticipated sponsorships and food and beverage sales.
if you look, last year it was a negative 202.
Yeah, they came down and
Actually.
there are fewer events. Yeah,
I think the team worked hard with the special events committee to bring that differential down and adjust events. So they weren't stale or not events the same way, or we're just cutting events if they're not popular.
So year to year, they're reducing $36,000 in terms of the investment, income versus expense. In the park and rec, they're dropping income by $72,000 for their, and their year is down $104,000. That's primarily driven by that $72,000 worth of income that they took out. So if there's a spot based on trends, it's in that park and rec.
But I think it really isn't sponsorship, it's probably more than social.
Yeah, so that's in there. It's sponsorships, tickets, and
I get it. You know, for like a lot of summers, that's something that needs to be to kind of upset some of the expenses, right? Does this need to be kicked back to events to say which ones should and should not be ticketed events? To try to assist with the budget this year.
You could, but keep in mind, events is down 36,000 projected, net down $36,000 for next year in the budget.
I mean, the one thing I think of is, right, Father Daughter Dance sells out every year. Is that we need a bigger capacity for it, or do you need to charge more for tickets so you get more revenue? Aloha to Summer, I think that gets sold out very quickly, there's a big draw for that, so that's something that there needs to be a ticket to that to generate revenue for that draw. So just a couple of things to think of. Easter egg hunt, I don't think you do that. 4th of July, we wouldn't do that. Founders, you wouldn't do that. But are there some of the events in here that they truly should be a ticketed event, not just free?
We-
and
we have- I just want to interject on all the special events topics. People pay dues, and included in the dues are special events. If every event is a ticketed event, then we don't need to pay dues because that's like a big part of it. So we can't ticket every single thing. Some of this is part of what they are already paying for.
So there is a line, and to Jared's point, there is a line in the events budget for pay for plays where we do smaller events like the painting with a twist and the cocktail class where people do pay, or the murder mystery dinner where people do pay, and those are a net neutral event, but they're much smaller in scale.
And Jared, I agree with you that I don't think all of them should be ticketed, but maybe some more than just one should.
And if we push through a 13% increase and you take away special events, that's not going to be real popular. Explain why the income's down in Park and Rec. What's going on there?
The events that they were doing, because the two departments have merged, all events, even the park and rec items other than kids' night out and summer breakout, are in with the lifestyles paper play. So they were getting sponsorships and things like that. And then you still have 851 revenue at a low end because we don't have 851.
Is there a reason why Island Village is only 10,000 and we're gonna collect 30,000 this year?
We were just being conservative.
So I think that's a number that probably should be bumped up, especially with A51 out of commission, and that's probably the most desirable place outside of Heritage Hall.
Doesn't get a lot of,
There's that, I hear what you're saying, but there's got to be some income opportunities that we're not reflecting here. If we're down 72,000.
So the Parks and Rec revenue is really private rentals of the amenity centers, partner programs paying their contractual rate, and residents or other entities renting the tables, chairs, tents from town hall. That's really just, that's their revenue, or summer breakout and kids night out.
Okay, and that bucket of revenue is the same as a bucket of revenue for next year. It comes from the same spots. My point is, this bucket is $72,000 higher than this bucket next year. So I don't understand the transfer. There's a hole in between here. Okay, there's got to be a way to find some of that.
So based upon 5 months of rental of the Island Village common room, we'd be at 32,000 this year, but we budgeted 10. Lakeside would be at 18,000. We got it at 16,000.
Oh, you're also losing the 25,000 from farmer's market.
Right, and I want to talk about, let me just. Well, Spring Park. In 2024, we got 20,000 in revenue from private home. This year, we're trending toward 33,000 and we only have 8,000 in the budget for 26.
You can rationalize it with the, I'll buy the farmer's market, but I think we have to go back to this group and tell them, you've got to get your revenue number flat. And maybe give them a credit for the $25,000. That means they still got to come back with $45,000 or $50,000. This is real money.
To Jim's discussion right there, projections, right, for all of private rentals, that's about 89,000, and we're only budgeting right now 42.
We do hit
So that's a $47,000 hit to the budget right now.
You do hit a struggle in rentals during the summer months with the summer camp taking out Heritage Hall, which moves all meetings to other rooms, which is taking them offline. We're having a lot of concerns. It's going to be brought up to the board about our partner programs, as we're getting a lot of pushback from partner programs on not being able to provide them space, where we may need to be adjusting some programming as well. So we're looking at this year needing to maybe adjust partner program income to a lower amount just because we don't have rooms available as the amount of committee meetings keeps increasing.
Until we have 851 back.
That is correct.
Yeah, so,
Which won't be in this year.
but it's philosophically, it's short-term problem.
It is.
Yeah.
We had that problem all this year, right? 851's been out of commission for all the last year.
Well, but like I said, the trends we're seeing with the trend aren't showing what we're seeing with the summer offline of this room has not been getting its rentals. CCFC as well, because we've been pushing all meetings and private event rentals and everything from Heritage Hall out to other properties.
So you're saying the forecast isn't right that we're looking at?
It's slightly incorrect for some of these just because of what we're seeing this summer.
Slightly incorrect. That's a point, Herm.
That's interesting, Ken.
Personally, I don't see.
Please go back and look at that one.
That's, I mean, line by line, I think you're correct. Island Village may be able to be adjusted.
Because plus with phase 2 coming in, there's gonna be people who are there and they're still gonna want to use that room because it's gonna be nicer than the whatever's in the amenity center phase.
I guess pending Grand Mountain's review, I think there's 10 or 20,000.
Oh, 30, 40. Easy.
Do they have insurance?
Yeah,
Well, I'd look at Spring Park, Spring.
I don't care where it comes from. I mean,
Oh, yeah, we're gonna keep them.
I'm just
I
looking.
think it's 20,000 is probably conservative, because then the 89,000 is way off, and that's probably more of a 60,000 number.
So when I go to the farmer's market, we're not getting any revenue because we're handing this over to Canoa. Is that correct?
Effective this month, it's on Canoa, and Canoa's not gaining any revenue from it at all.
It was a break even for us, right?
Yeah, it was a break even for you as well.
Yeah.
And if it had stayed in Croa, the farmer's market had proposed that they no longer pay that fee to Croa, so it would still live with Croa at no expense and no revenue. So either way, it was going away.
So I can tell all the stores in Celebration Point and in Island Village that they will be able to go to the farm.
I don't think you should speak on behalf of Croa to the stores of Island Village about the farmer's market.
Why is that? They're not, they don't let it in.
That's management's responsibility.
I know it. It doesn't. Okay, let's move on. City.
Just have income.
That finishes income.
I was talking from a net perspective.
Yeah.
So I think there's that $30,000, $40,000 from a net perspective.
Electricity.
How are the stores, Junior, if you know, how are all the stores in Celebration Point doing?
With due respect, that doesn't tie to your CROA budget workshop.
No,
Oh, I
yeah, we'll talk about it after.
So electricity,
What,
electricity. One thing I have a question on is for electricity at Island Village, if we're doing the Island Village turnover,
So
some expectation
down-
should go up. And
down below, there's a placeholder for an Island Village turnover in other expenses. It's an $80,000.
what is that for?
That's for the Phase 2 amenity center and the Phase 2 parks. So landscaping, electrical, all the utilities and everything for when those are passed over to us at some point next year. So it'll be in the second half of the year.
how would you apply expenses to that bucket?
That's just it's a place,
Electricity for Island Village, or you're not in landscaping for Island Village?
it's just a placeholder from a budget percentage perspective. It would be applied to a Phase 2 amenity center, electrical, water. So you can actually see, because we don't have any idea what that run rate's gonna be.
Yeah,
Why don't we wait till we get to that?
well, I'm just thinking, I don't think there should be an $80,000 line. I don't think it should be built into different sections.
But let's not discuss that one. Let's take them in sequence here. Electricity. Just, I only have one comment. I mean, it's up 12%. Is what it is. It's a fixed cost. But if you go back through the years, we're at 224,000 actual, 211,000. This year, we're gonna show 149. Then next year, 168. The trend just bothered me. And I don't need to belabor it. I'm just pointing it out. It's just weird. I know the per kilowatt hour rate didn't change or anything. I don't know.
It did actually.
Well, 851 maybe, because we're not using
Well,
851.
no,
$16,000. That's not
Duke,
big.
Duke went up, we went up 3 cents, 3.2 cents per kilowatt hour
Yeah.
for the next 12 months to make up for disaster relief. So Duke did go up.
Don't they charge them when they go?
I don't know why it's down so much.
But yeah, 2025 is really low.
Yeah.
Yeah, because 851.
Yeah, but that's on
Just
16,000.
look at it. I mean, we're up 12%.
Yeah, Lakeside is a big, Lakeside's one of our biggest variants.
Just make sure there's not an error in there or
We've
something.
got seats too that have been taking things off. We've got renovations that have taken things off, like pumps being down.
Yeah, that's what, it is. I mean, yeah, I mean, if you look at
Okay, because you're.
Lakeside at 66, budgeted and 34 projected.
Of 2025?
Yeah.
Okay, then lower the percentage increase then, okay. That would make some sense, because we should be down around 6 or 7% probably. My favorite category,
But
water.
I guess on that, right, electricity should be bumped up a little bit.
We'll take a second.
The base is wrong, I think, in that 2025 one, the way it sounds.
Well, I guess we definitely got over everything is back online being used.
Well, during, through May, we're at 68,006. You can buy that, you get up to 224. You don't.
We've got 149 in the projection right now.
And 224.
ACs are running.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean.
It's seasonal.
It's higher in the season. Somewhere in here. Okay, water.
You put a 5% increase across the board,
Yeah.
based on projection. I'm good for that.
You have any better handle on the water bills?
Well, they've been good. They've been good though. Stable,
They've actually been coming in, right?
yeah.
Landscape maintenance.
The Mac Daddy. How much of this is contractual, just the contract line?
CCFC contracts. Mulch and pine straw.
And those are tied directly to the contract, so there's no,
CCFC is gonna be a different number because that's up for RFP. They're due back tomorrow.
we just flag that number for.
Yeah,
to be updated.
it's flagged, yeah.
So
Who's been doing it now? Why are we at,
Exquisite.
they're not gonna do it anymore?
They're bidding on it.
Oh, it was just up and so it's just cycling?
It needs to be bid out, so it's maintained at the level that those fields need to be maintained.
Oh, we're happy with. Okay.
Now I have a question. So all the tree trimming we did in Parkview, are there other areas that we still, even though CCD may be picking up some responsibility, that we need to take so that the neighborhood looks like better groomed?
There's
Just,
many easement trees that need to be trimmed like we did in Parkview, yes.
but why don't we have some, 100,000 in the budget for that needs to be done?
We did discuss that. Annual replacement, including trees, trimming, which is the top number in the section. We had that at a much higher number. We pulled it down in terms of increase the percentage and be more.
We used the 8,000 and change arbor repair or arbor tree trimming that Parkview recently did and did a small analysis over some of our larger parks. That would increase the line by about $90,000 is what we came to, about $120,000 based on adding arbor trimming. When we did that, when we played with the numbers, it just shot the first projection over 20%. So we removed it to not put a budget out over 20%.
I agree. I mean, through May, we had spent $6,800. Tree replacement.
Not trees, that's other landscaping replacements.
I just personally think we need to spend the money because I know it's made a big, huge difference in the Parkview townhomes. Of things growing and doing better, and the whole neighborhood looks like it needs a haircut to me.
We do have multiple parks like Spring Park, amphitheater, and a few others that have issues with easement sod failing that we're not looking at addressing right now because any installation would most likely fail unless we adjusted the arbors.
Exactly.
So I just have one question for this category. The landscape contract, Exquisite, I assume those are the contract numbers firm. So what it's telling me is this year he's getting a 10% increase.
Next year.
Next year, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Next year, yeah, in the cycle.
But did they take on additional responsibility or is it identical?
We'll be adding on additional parks with Island Village expansions. But
That's really just an increase of cost and there's sums written to jobs to do.
So it'd be. So,
I mean, correct, because of scope changing. The current scope does not see an increased rate change.
okay, okay. That's fine. So that's the Island Village, then you're saying? And how is that addressed in the
Let's double
contract?
check this contract number. It's not in the contract. It would be in your contract, just like we did in Island Village Phase 1.
Okay,
It could be added on as a change in services in the contract and an addendum to the
well,
existing.
tell us why there's $100,000 increase.
Yeah.
That's it.
I just made a note to double check.
Scope change and everything, fine, but you have a contract for that, and is it that amount or?
Question on the, I guess the agreement between CCD and Crowa regarding trimming around parks. That's now Crowa's responsibility. Has that been built into this budget of what additional expenses there will be to trim those areas and upkeep?
That's where we had an additional, $90,000 in this line, this $30,000 line. However, we pulled it,
So how did you get to that 90,000? What was your?
we used the Parkview number that they just spent on theirs and did
We
it
had
based on our parks.
easement trees in front of 47 homes, and that was 8,800 change.
So is this truly an annual expense or is it something that there's only
Right.
so much, like, is it 8,800 because Parkview was in such bad shape that they need to do everything where?
We did
if
everything
it's
and needed a
maintenance,
haircut.
either way, then
Yes.
the number's gonna be a little less than it's 90,000.
Well, we wouldn't do it.
Well, I mean, your upfront cost because these easement trees hasn't been trimmed in.
But you're right in the sense of we wouldn't need to see that number year after year. It could reduce with continued maintenance.
I recommend we don't do it until 2027.
Brooks in bad shape now.
This is a good conversation. Bill, this is a good conversation to carry over to the board as we do have many GOGUP issues about easement sought,
I would rather.
which is a compliance issue where that we can currently not meet our own compliance due to, we can't trim the canopies because of budget. We could weasel next year using the landscape improvements to place sod down. However,
It's just.
it would fail immediately based on the canopies.
Yeah.
So,
So you clean up the canopy of trees. You're not gonna have success.
yeah, this is something that we do receive a lot of feedback by residents because we're sending out violations, but our parks aren't meeting them.
So he's split over 2 years, 26, 27, of what different areas are gonna be focused on to then get it to a status where we're there, rather than throwing it all in the 2026 budget. And
We
then
could come back with an assessment on where we are needing it to fill this, like, of the certain easements that are struggling the most.
kind of like when
That way, instead of fixing,
debating which ones are and how much are we talking about? These need to be prepared next year versus these can maybe hold off for a year.
Let me understand, pull $90,000. Because you didn't think we could afford to do it. Or for whatever reason, you pulled that, and we're sitting here trying to convince you to put it back in. I'm not.
Fine. And I think it's outrageous that we don't do.
Okay.
Have you been all around?
Looks like a bunch of shaggy dogs.
So,
Need to be
folks,
fixed.
have you been to Spring Lake, Island Village? Have you?
No, I don't. I'm talking about the existing neighborhoods from here, from Old Publix to World Drive.
God, I would agree with you, but I think you have to look at it in context of what we're facing for next year. And I don't think we have the luxury of doing things that we think would make that look better. It's a qualitative thing. It's on this street and it looks bad. Well, but we got some big decisions here. Or you want to do it 18%. I mean,
I think we should be doing the 18%.
if we add in $90,000, that'll add 1.2 or so to the,
Yeah.
I think it's important enough, and we should have another 18, have an 18%.
disagree totally. This is a 1.7% increase that we would have to the residents to clean up those trees you're talking.
I know people were frustrated in Parkview area, just as one example of how lousy the trees look.
Okay, but in the last board meeting, they were talking about how so many people are happy because of spending all the money for repairs and maintenance. More so happy than they've been for years. So, we're spending a lot on repairs and maintenance.
But with the neighborhood, don't.
I mean, we'll happily take this offline, as this is something I think as management, we have to provide anyway, because we need support from the board if we're not doing it, so we can respond to all of these GOGUP tickets. I mean, I understand both sides, but we just,
Yes.
and just need assistance in answering these questions.
But you obviously came down on the side of not doing it. Because that's what you gave.
Okay, let's move on.
Like, just on landscape maintenance though, also for mulch and pine straw, we haven't done that yet this year.
They started last month. We're seeing the bills come in.
So it is going twice per year, so it's
Yes.
that be leveraged in some way to,
It's in their contract that they do it twice a year.
and then with the junior, there's no expectation that that could come out of something place or active park, something else. Rather than from an operating perspective.
I don't really see tree trimming as a replacement reserve item. You're not replacing anything, you're maintaining the tree.
Future is made.
Putting stuff out there where we can work things.
I mean, if I'm taking the tree out,
The boat that we're trying to plug.
if I'm taking the tree out and replacing it, yes, that's a replacement item. But if I'm just trimming it, I'm maintaining the tree.
Gotcha.
I mean, we've got.
So then, yeah, that's true. All right.
Okay. Pool operating expenses?
Which one? Well, operating?
Yeah.
Is that the new contract?
That is not the new contract.
What happens?
It goes up,
How much?
not significantly.
Our chemicals off by 400.
How much does it go up?
We had additional chemicals because of the fire process, and every once in a while we have to purchase additional chemicals outside of the contract.
Or we don't.
Contracts were like 150 and 20,000 additional. That's how you came up with that number.
Contract, I think, is 157. Yeah, no. What, 12,000 a month?
Contract looks like 180 this year.
It was incorrectly budgeted in 2020. Yeah,
So this is, what's the addition? Five.
but it's mainly, this is the contract that we're seeing in 2005, carrying over 2026, the same amount. There's a small amount of chemicals off or outside of contract.
57 is about the contract, then you're estimating about 14,000 in purchase of chemicals outside of the contract.
No,
No.
157 was the chemical rate based on not having Ecolabs. The budget for the Ecolabs thing was approved, so this is incorrect.
Once the 177 almost accurately represents the contract. Without addition,
These are chemicals outside of that?
not
Not
much,
significant.
not significantly. We saw some more this year due to the fire processes of the pool renovate, or the pool resurfacing that are not expected next year.
Can management update this budget after this for the next round with the accurate, I mean, we have the contract, we know what it is, so it should just be in there.
Yeah,
So how much more than 390? I'm looking at the total. How much more than the 394 do you think it's gonna be? Just so we've got a ballpark,
contract.
just a total category, not just a contract. What is it gonna change?
I don't think it's a significant change. Because I think we bumped up the contract in expectation of a higher contract number.
Contract's less than $1,000.
So, or any of the pool stuff.
$12,000.
Like he is.
Full contract looks like it's 180 and this year projection and it's 180 next year. It's just a pool
None
contract.
of that.
Yeah, just when you guys get the chance, just change that number to whatever the contract is.
But tell us what it was so we know the
The
downside.
comparison between.
Well, we can do that, absolutely.
On the pool repairs as a whole,
Current CQ is 157.80. The new one is 172. No, wait, hold on. 172.2 a year, so it's come down.
15,000.
on the pool repairs, we're projecting about 61,000 this year. We're dropping it down to about 40. I know we did a lot of pool work in 2024, so is that appropriate or is 40,000 too high? Because we shouldn't be seeing as many repairs as what we had this past year.
This is the number recommended by Christian.
Okay.
I'm okay with the rest of it, at this point. Everybody else?
Yeah, you do.
Okay. Repairs and maintenance.
I have a question. Can somebody tell us how much inventory we have at our shop? Did somebody just estimate that? We don't.
And
I've heard, I know we don't. Heard that we're buying, which is I'm fine with, but then we should know what our inventory is.
Right.
And I've not heard a number. I've heard people say, well, we're buying 4 of these or 5 of these or 6 of these. And I think we're trying to create a little inventory so that we don't have a lot of travel time. I understand all that. But then give us the number. I don't want to start taking an inventory and then expensing what we use, the cost of goods and all that. I think that'd be foolish. This is more incidental, but we should know what that inventory level is from time to time, maybe once a quarter. I don't know. Yeah. So all of a sudden we could have $100,000 tied up in parts and pieces. You don't know.
Well, I have a question for that, Jacob. So, if you were gonna do a parts inventory, you could also set a unit cost level, which you would inventory if there anything that's really expensive. Then, let's say screws and nuts you keep on hand, for example, or little plumbing pieces that aren't expensive per unit. So if you could set a rule of what the minimum price with which a unit item would be capitalized or deferred over the course of the year and won't be expensed as we use it over the year.
It's the right way to do it. And if we were a different kind of operation, you'd do that. But I think if we just check the inventory periodically, and if we have to go to that level because it gets out of hand, we think it's getting out of hand, then we can do that. But I don't think we should start there. Because we're.
We should ask the department to keep an inventory so we know walking out the door either. Forget about booking it as an asset.
Well, the bottom line is we don't know, to the point, we don't know how much
Yes.
he has spent on the inventory. So.
Right, I'm talking $5 an area.
I mean, Jacob, do you have any idea if there are any expensive items?
Exactly. Exactly.
On a unit basis? Well, we can.
So knowing what the inventory is, or having him provide reports, or every couple months or something, just to keep up with it, so we know. So Ray could then take it and maybe allocate the expense over a few months or whatever. So. Obviously, with the repairs and maintenance in May, it changed the 12-month projected number pretty significantly versus using the 4 months through April. But hopefully May was just an anomaly to a certain point. And it'll come back in line a little bit.
No. Forecasting it to come back in line or not continue those big. Coming in at the year for 267, right?
Doesn't include the May numbers for forecasting.
Right.
All,
Using,
that's right.
using 5/12, it goes up to 425,000.
Yeah, May was off by 70, May was off by $70,000.
Yeah.
Why do we put that credit in there like that? Wasn't there a better way to do that? That $36,000 credit that it made and camouflage the expenditures. Can we put that someplace else when it's a different year, a different operating period?
Do a prior year expenditure.
Put it-
It is a prior, it was booked as a prior year expenditure.
If you explain to me what happened.
There was something paid out of operating that should have been paid out of reserve or capital.
So we overcharged operating expense. Treatment over to one of the,
Yeah, but it was a 2020.
It was a reclass.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't. My point is this, you have to scour the P and L, it's over by $70,000 in the period. Then I look at the detail and I see, okay, there's a 36, or it was over by 30,000, let's call it. And I see, oh, there's a $36,000 credit there. And I go, wow.
so that
Just what, you have to interpret something. And at least maybe give us a note or something, or throw it into others so it stands out. Like when Knife screwed up Christian's operation here for the entire year for something he had nothing to do with from last year.
It's a credit.
I mean, it's
No, it's a-
related to that.
Yeah, it's a credit. I should have said it that way. You make Christian look better first by thinking that way. Anyway, enough said. No, that's why I got confused. After you were negative.
increase.
Is the 12,000 for the fitness centers, is that a contract?
The preventive maintenance agreement, and then the additional expenditures from repairing the equipment. Right.
Be there.
They're there most of the month already.
Anybody have anything else for me? Okay, moving on, janitorial.
Did ask about this one specifically in terms of were we buying more stuff, or seeing price increases? And the bulk answer was the amenities are being used more frequently and the, toilet paper, paper towels, all of that, cleaning supplies are being purchased more frequently.
It's 6,000 for 51, online for half the year or?
That's what Christian estimated as restocking it for when we move in.
I would just have everybody bring their own toilet paper.
IoT. Donate, a packet.
Think back to, COVID. To the valuable commodity.
You can always look at installment.
Yep. Safety and security. Your projection doesn't include all the Mayberry additional cost.
No, it did not, because that wasn't as part of it.
So,
Yeah, it needs to be added.
yeah, we,
That's going up because of expanding scope of pricing.
Mainly the expanded scope of the summer pool monitors.
and how much did we decide that was? Did you remember net? Taking out the part-time pool people who were gonna do that for.
It was a 60,000 net
That's on that, I think.
Amount,
If you netted the people you didn't put in for the
50,000.
part-time people against the baby.
Cost the 80,000 cost minus the,
Yeah. So
I think it was around 30.
this was referencing the amount that it will be next year, not.
But the part-time people won't be in there either.
no, they're not in the.
So you reduce the compensation for that, but then we have the whole amount for.
Yeah.
Here.
Mhm.
That's a separate contract for the summer,
Yes,
so then it should be a separate line item too. Add back to.
yeah, it's,
Just combining everything in security.
It is.
it's,
No, just agree.
I mean, this year we hired them a month early to get them familiar with things, right?
this is lifeguards.
Because I really think we should just do security. From May 31st, when school ends, we're.
Check an ID, security.
Because that's the,
that's the plan for next year.
and that's the number.
Reaction, interaction from the county here.
Just check that to make sure if we're taking a month. Okay, any other comments on safety and security? Okay, other operating expenses. So the amenity center in phase 2, what is Tanner telling me when that's gonna be there?
He's anticipating a turnover in June-ish. I don't think they're gonna hit that based on their current building rate. So I'm thinking we're gonna see it at the end of, like in Q4.
Or- I
So
mean, I can't believe that they're gonna build that.
Yeah.
They're still building all the houses in that section. I mean, it's just,
You would think they would build the houses first, then they would build the amenity center.
exactly, because
What have they done in section one?
somebody else built the phase 1 amenity center, the apartment house.
that was an agreement with amenities that.
I don't know the timeline in terms of.
I wouldn't tie the phase 1 timeline to anything in phase 2.
Oh.
That there was a large contention in phase 1 that we're not playing that game in phase 2.
Right.
How long did you delay the takeover on the phase 1 amenity?
It was, believe me.
It was
A year? Just play that game again and we'll get out of 26, so we take this out.
Disney's already kind of telegraphed us that they're not gonna let us play that game.
Well, you told me it's gonna be in Q4, it's not much of a game to play.
Yeah,
We can build it.
and they haven't plotted all the homes yet. How could they get it all done?
I know, I'm trying to tie between, saving quarters worth of maintaining that building versus completely blowing up our relationship with Mattamy, because we've worked really hard on improving that relationship this year to the point where they're putting in pool heaters in phase 2 and not significantly billing CROA for that. They're likely going to provide us a space for a maintenance shed location in phase 4 at no cost to CROA. So, I mean, there's some give and take here that we're trying to take.
I would,
If they come in the I'm sorry, if we just pull it, and if they come in the fourth quarter, and we have to take it to maintain the relationship, then we'll do that.
So this is just the amendment center. This is also the parks that are gonna be done earlier that might get passed over soon.
I put it at 15,000.
You're not budgeting a janitorial line. We're not,
This is just a one, everything.
It's a plug.
Yeah. If you're doing 80,000, 6 months, right? That's 13,000 a month. Stadium, electricity,
Landscaping, utilities, janitorial supplies.
that seems like a large number though for,
There's another gym in there that's gonna be added to
But
the,
you said that's tiny. Smaller.
It is
than
this gym, but I mean, but still, there's a gym, two meeting rooms, a pool.
But will that
The amount we saw, I mean, that's not
Any of the-
include any of the Gallagher, any of the Gallagher integration as well, which we see just so much costs from every time I touch a door.
But if it happens in the fourth quarter, you're only gonna have 12 weeks. If it happens at the start of the fourth quarter, that's 12 weeks to
so
do.
this is the number based on the number Tanner gave, or the timeline Tanner gave us, so we were trying to be
What's
conservative.
this timeline?
June,
Okay, so at least gets cut in half then.
No, that's what they.
no, this number is based on a June preliminary date.
This is 6 months.
Yeah.
And if it goes down by half, because we only get it for the fourth quarter, then that's half the number. It's 40,000.
Well, when you ask him the questions about giving update about his projections of sales, this would be.
He's gonna be late, so it's gonna fall back in there.
That's what I,
Jim said 15, 20, whatever it is, but I mean, I think that's
but I
kind of covers for the 12
probably
weeks.
it's no less than 4.
should it be taken out and allocated to the juggling for electricity and things like that? You throw a couple thousand here and there to.
I understand putting it in a single
Just a
line
bucket.
because
Right,
we can translate
we know what it is.
later, we know. what's happening.
I'll say 20. I'll suggest 20. 20,000. Hey, come up with a number.
I would have thought 40, cut it in half, not cut it down.
What kind of size scope are we talking about that we can justify 20,000 is correct or 40,000?
We can't just, we can't, we're just guessing. This is a swag. Scientific, wild ass guess. How many say 20? How many say 40? And 3 to 2. 20. The board will probably change it anyway.
Over budget. No better than the federal government, right? So.
We got nothing to go on. That's wild ass. No. So we might as well, we can labor over it for another 10 minutes. Get the right number.
Okay, so
Unless we got there.
joint committee expense down 400,000.
Just real quick question on Bank of America, which now is the
Seminole.
the Sycamore building.
Seminole.
Seminole is that? Okay. On Sycamore.
Is it? Yeah. On Sycamore.
Seminole and Sycamore. Okay, that's an 18-month lease. And there's no way to cancel it. We signed up for the full 18-month payment. We can exit early, but it's an 18-month payment.
This place over at Bank of America.
Yes,
That's all I had.
It's a lower contract rate, right?
it's, yeah, it's
Get it over 18.
it's the same monthly rate that we're paying currently at Bank of America building. If we were to stay in Bank of America, the monthly rate would go up to the current market value because Lexington has been giving us a reduced monthly rate.
Okay.
They've got a tenant going in there.
Yeah, they've already rented out all of our offices that we have there. We believe we don't know who it is, but we believe it's our neighbors upstairs.
So where you guys
A
looking?
firm just took over the
Seminoles.
third floor that's vacant, and they've been highly actively seeking all of the executive suites on the second floor.
And who firm, who's that?
It's a brokerage firm.
Investment broker?
No, it's
Real estate.
real estate.
So the 75,000 you have in, you're okay with?
Yeah, for the year.
It's a contract, yeah.
All right, anything else? Pay professional fees. Any
Yeah, nothing really stood out there.
problems with?
Oh, the architect. And the landscape architect. So what, about 37,000?
Do we use both a landscape?
Landscape architect. The town architect is used, but sparingly. They're only contacted when the committee asks.
That's why you see a reduction of the landscape architect.
You're thinking 20?
My only question, is such a small number,
It's a good thing.
The reduction?
No, the value that we're getting for it.
For the architect, yes, it's very valuable to the committee, especially with the large bill, which is, or
Architect, not so much. No.
particularly
Well, how about we kill the landscape architect?
the pro board contractual.
In perpetuity, or there was no expiration on it? Isn't it year to year?
It's a year to year, yeah,
Okay, so we could cancel it.
yes.
I had a question just on collection of all these receivables of all different kinds. 5,000 is gonna be enough money for collecting.
You don't pay your collections attorney unless you waive late fees. They get paid through their attorney's fees.
Okay.
I mean, through May, we've only paid the landscape architect
I'm
3,000.
looking for a nonverbal cue, but you're not showing me. You're just kind of,
I'm
I'm
fine.
not ticking, you're not flicking or anything.
Nope. Taking it all in.
Just so everybody's aware, Jared had to jump off.
I said,
You wanna drop it to 10 and leave, potentially take it off?
you usually pick up $2,000.
I'm just saying, it's a little bit.
What?
You can 12, drop to 12. that's fine.
Go ahead, Jacob.
Your use can fluctuate based on your committee as well. I mean, it's by committee's request to have them. That's kind of the struggle,
Based on need, not who's on the committee.
need of the committee. Or need of the community, which is evaluated by the committee.
Now, does he weigh in on arbor issue?
No,
Like to talk about the trees and all that fun stuff? No.
no.
You,
The landscape
landscape
architect weighs in only by our request.
He's designed, not horticulturalist or arborist.
Well, you know why I'm asking that.
Yes.
you combine the architect and just say 25, 37 down, combined for total.
It's just, it's just.
What did you see here?
I was saying combine architect to the two, and then that's one line item for 25,000. How that's out, wasn't it previously?
What's the engineering?
The board and the.
No, they were separate.
What's the engineering?
25 for both the landscape.
We use engineers to evaluate various things throughout the year, like we're using Karen's to evaluate the metal roofs that are technically up for replacement this year, but we want an engineer to go up there, walk them, say, yes, you need to replace them, or no, just repair them, or no, they're fine.
We have an issue with a gazebo that's settling. We have to bring an engineer in to review.
If I for both,
We got 25 votes or 20 and 5 separate items. No, either way, I don't care.
I'm fine with that.
20 and 5.
Yeah, 25 and then 0. Yeah, I think if it's separate, it's fine.
25 combined.
Okay.
So 5,000 for landscape, 20,000 for
That works.
Still at 3.14%.
Okay. We have a problem with credit card bank charges.
I have a question. So on credit card charges, that 4,000 is what? American Express by how many users?
It's the annual card fees.
We've reduced
But
that
we've reduced the three.
3 part.
Is the why American Express is necessary or the one that's used compared to someone who has a lower annual expense?
Particularly, it was switched from Regions to American Express because we didn't have access to the Regions statement, so it was almost impossible to reconcile monthly. Amex gives us we can log in regularly and reconcile as need be.
Yeah, I guess for the board, I'd be looking at what's the business case for why you need that card? And if it's supported, then we keep it, but I think paying for an American Express card of a 500 annual fee on the homeowner's dime.
As long as it continues. Maybe it changes as long as it continues the same credit limit on it as we do use the credit limit. Purchases that patient.
And I guess if you have it down to 3, then when you have one card that pays the annual fee and authorized user, that's 75 each, and that cuts 1,000 out of that right there.
The business Amex cards are different than the standard Amex card.
I had a question on the other line, bad debt expense, for all these receivables we may or may not collect, do we need a reserve? There were some receivables we're never gonna collect.
Secure jet. I think we do the budget.
Okay, so in 10 years, they're gonna get your money?
Might take a while, but we'll have.
Really?
In the closing table.
You know about auditors, they would say if we needed a bad debt reserve, they would let us.
Well, I'd like to interview them before I make that answer. If they actually don't get.
Okay, association communications. Anything?
My thing here is, I guess, budget mailing and election. So last year, they approved that everything could be submitted electronically. So why haven't we done that push so that we can decrease?
We can't force people to.
I know, but you can opt in. And I think a large percentage of our,
It's a huge staff cost to track who's opted in and who's opted out.
And then liability on that as
There's
well.
liability if we miss somebody who didn't opt in and just shove them electronic communication.
that sounds like it could be done, but
I don't think it moves the needle much for you.
How many do we have?
And then we got a lot of dinosaurs.
One-
I use technology.
Well, you're talking about the mailing, not how they vote.
Yeah.
Right.
Elections that are.
Right,
General and administrative expenses.
definitely.
Just kind of a global question. Do we have any new positions planned for next year? I saw the worksheet and I couldn't tell from.
No,
So what's our number, 44,
25.
45? So no new positions. Okay. And one other thing on the worksheet, that 10% number is popping up again. We've got that populated. We used to call that a fee and a fee. So if you look at the worksheet, personnel load for 10%, then it's 10% of the health benefits.
Yeah, that's a contractual thing.
Is it?
yeah.
Okay, look at wait now, look at the previous years.
Don't look at the previous years because those calculations were wrong, remember? Because that was the Brian Kenzel percentage on a percentage.
Exactly.
Yeah, so this is not the percentage on the percentage. This is-
See, it's on the.
Yeah.
But it's contractual fine, but I don't ever remember that. I remember when we eliminated it because it was 10% on fee, a fee.
So it's, and that's part of the, in 24, we weren't accounting for any fee on personnel benefits. And we had to make that change for 25. 26, it's 5% on salaries, it's 10% on benefits.
And the flat rate.
And flat rate and the monthly management fee. And that's though the 10%'s in exhibit B, I want to say, to the contract.
So you're sure it's there?
Yes.
It's spelled out.
You see that?
Right thing. That's fair.
And all,
But that's not it's not the previous calculation, it's just on the benefits.
Then my point would be, we weren't doing 10% on benefits. Years that I remember.
No, we didn't. We did in 25 though.
Yeah, but what happened to those other years? We never paid it?
Because we were doing that weird percent on a percent on a percent.
That shouldn't have been done at all, you know that, but we weren't doing the right thing.
I'm aware, that's why we're doing the right thing now.
We started in 2024 unbudgeted.
Yeah. 2025 is budgeted and 2020, so 25 and 26 are correct.
Guess I don't understand the contractual element of our contract. That we had that other funky.
But Ryan Kinzel understanding of the formula.
Cause I yelled about it, but I don't remember talking about it.
Yeah.
It's there.
There.
Assuming in these years where the history shows zero there.
It's because we were doing the calculation differently.
It was in the compensation phase.
Yeah, it's
Not from the piece.
Okay. I combined.
this assumes full employment, right? Compensation.
I had a thought about that. Should we factor in a vacancy rate? We seem to always have vacancies. We could reflect a better P&L closer to reality if we factored in a vacancy rate. Couple, 3 positions for the year. Not uncommon
Nope.
in high turnover
That's true.
organizations.
Yeah, quite a bit.
You do like a 2-month adjustment for certain positions.
No, I think you just, typically, what, 3 or 4 positions down?
Usually, yeah.
Yeah, that's probably a straight line.
Right, but
I would suggest,
your executive director's working 12 months and all that, so you gotta pick which ones.
If I did a vacancy rate, I would do it based on more entry level positions.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
that's how I used to do it at the county.
Yeah.
so you would say it's 4. I'd say you reflected the budget 2, maybe, to be a little safe, or 3,
Great.
and at $50,000 salary or whatever it is.
I mean, if we took the.
It's a good idea. The only problem is it doesn't give us any wiggle room if we have somebody coming in with exceptional talent somewhere and offering a little bit more money
I
for
would,
that position.
I would also say we would ask to budget overtime at that point, because currently, like, maintenance is the best example. We almost always have a maintenance vacancy, but due to that, we have needs sometimes that because we have a vacancy, but we have roles to perform, we allow overtime. But where you're using that vacancy to help offset the overtime.
Yeah, I wasn't suggesting we.
No,
Full vacancy. If it's 4, if we agree the number is 4 for the year on an average, only reflect 2. And then you still got room for your overtime and somebody comes along or whatever you want to call it, a little more salary someplace.
How much overtime you built in?
We don't build in overtime. That's,
So that's our,
You understand, but you're not building overtime in.
so if we did, that's fine, but we would just ask to budget some overtime.
Combined with that.
If you'd have 4 positions or have it smaller and have more overtime.
Yeah.
I think we agree there should be a vacancy rate in here probably. The question is, what's the number?
I mean, to go back to Jacob's point, I think if we do a vacancy rate, then we need to put in overtime.
Well, you could be concerned that you have a vacancy rate.
Yeah, we have You have the vacancy rate at 2 versus 4, if that's your number.
That's your
Or
number.
you do, if it's 3, you do 1,
Right.
or whatever. So you're leaving that cushion there for you.
Compensating for the overtime.
We'll have to look at the average and see.
We can go, if it's 4, then we'll do 4, and then we'll give you something for overtime.
We'll look at an average.
Okay.
And that's really specific to maintenance and inspectors for the most part, not any other.
It's gonna be a.
Yeah, so maintenance inspector, historic positions.
For all positions, but the ones that are not routinely impacted.
And
Yeah. It's our entry level positions that are the
Yeah. They just sit the longest time unfilled because of lack of good quality candidates. So that's where we're seeing the,
I think it's just a line item that says vacancy rate, and it's a deduction from, or it's an addition back to the, no, deduction from the expenses and some salary line, just a plug.
Yeah, I would put that in, I would put that in the salary sheet and then just rate it
That's what-
across the,
Yep.
Yep.
Maybe it's 50,000 or something. Oh. Okay,
It could be between 50 and 100, yeah.
anybody else have anything they want to talk about? Our next meeting, we will have to talk
But
about.
IT, talk IT.
Oh, IT?
Yeah.
Wow, you guys are jumping
Got
around.
compensation.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You know,
We've got some aging equipment that's being replaced, so yes.
Aging equipment replacement or truly operating?
It'd be capital. It'd be capital.
Well, we're replacing laptops, right? Isn't it just replacing what's existing?
so there's some laptops there's some of a technology replacement program of older laptop, kind of smaller pieces of equipment, but there's also larger pieces that need to be replaced as well,
Servers or things
like
like
servers and things like that. So those aren't a replacement fund expenditure. They're not in a replacement fund.
Got the network security, 43,000. What are you doing there?
what's that CJC transition?
Sorry.
This year.
So with your new IT director, he requested to break it out instead of, because it was and add additional lines, and it's tied back to this spreadsheet. So security is endpoint protection, PACS support, maintenance and monitoring, and the ID cards. So you're seeing some of the monitoring expense move from above down into the IT expenditure.
Now, what's that 10,000 for IT cards? Is that what we're
Those are the physical cards.
not the digital one?
Not the
Because
digital.
that's flying.
That's accounted.
Is that an inventory item or that you would, because you're gonna sell them, right, at some point when you.
But they're reusable,
Some of
so it's a capital, right now it's being looked at as a capital purchase. But those licenses are reusable if they're surrendered.
That's. This is the physical card that new residents get. You get your first
Oh,
year free, and any additional is $10, or renters pay $10 for them, apartments pay $10. And that's reflected, that revenue is reflected.
Oh, okay, got it, okay. I did have a question on, are we doing any major software upgrades like Windows 10 to Windows 11 and things like that?
365,
Okay.
which did allow us to get rid of our, what was it called? The Monday.com licenses, and we've all switched to Loop and some expenses being in the 365 environment and utilizing it better.
$20 after 7.
you have to look in.
There, keep going to go through applications and.
We're planning to look at the week tomorrow. Which I thought was way too early in that meeting, said in the board meeting. Here we are, been here, we'll do it line by line.
Everyone's good to continue?
Yeah. Well,
I mean, going through the replacement fund is gonna take quite a while. I mean, it's gonna go line by line. So I would say is,
Yeah,
why doesn't everybody take a look at the replacement fund for here?
Just so we're, its recommendation is gonna diff finance committees on it. Our recommendation is gonna be stick to the 1.4.
It's
Is there,
understand this.
is there a contractual reason why we get a master or a reserve study every 2 years? Is that
I
contractual?
do it every 3 years.
It's considered best practice.
So on the reserve study, it's every 2 years that it's in there. So technically 35,000 for next year shouldn't be in, for 2026 shouldn't be there.
There's a reserve study item for,
A reserve study update is citing 35,481. So I would say there's definitely wiggle room in a replacement, that if you guys are stuck on that, then we'll try to persuade your mind on things that shouldn't be in there. And I guess what is $32,013 for a park and facilities master plan?
So
Yeah, that's,
so I mean, those are things where, yes, we would,
So, and again, I'm not trying to make this spot here.
No.
The group needs some review, because I want to look at 2025 to see what you guys actually are spending, right? Because we have the 2.5 million and we stripped out the 900,000 for town hall. But then there was also a 206,000 for athletic fields, 247 for athletic fields and other parks, 206 for landscaping, which I think is for parks, which I think that is actually being spent. And then there's 110,000 for roof assembly. So I think there needs to be some reconciliation of what 2025 looks like and what 2026 is. And I can share that document. I hated the report they provided us of how to say this is with athletic fields, this is with parks and so forth. So I kind of manipulated the report so that it's more attractive to see what exactly is there. So I'll share that with the group and then
okay.
I mean, that's the discussion of, is there 100,000 or so that we can take out
Right.
to adjust that?
Just a question on the reserve study. There's something in here called Commons Playground.
village,
Well,
I mean, and there are things on here that we are looking to defer, but like the roof is a good example, all metal roofs. So we're looking at bringing in an engineer this year. We don't expect we need to do the metal roof. So based on the engineering report that we receive, we expect that we'll be recommending to defer that.
but that in terms of how you utilize a reserve study, that's kind of, you still budget for those items because you are going to end up having to escalate some things. There's an ebb and flow to it. So that's why, I mean, the best practice is to contribute what the recommendation is from the reserve study provider, because they are the experts in this field. And then when you can defer things, you defer them. When you can't and you have to escalate things, then you escalate them, and it provides that leeway to do that.
must be ebb and flow. Yeah, I think that's right. And that's all we're talking about. That's what we did last year. We took out all.
But that doesn't adjust your contribution. That should not adjust your contribution.
Unless, I mean, your contribution based on off your reserve at the beginning of the year.
Well, I think we should be able to adjust it because I'm looking at playgrounds for Lakeside at 144,000. I don't see you finding 144,000 Lakeside. And so that number needs to be bumped up. Is that we keep it where it's at and we take from capital, or do we truly increase that replacement budget?
So those reserves are assessed for like replacement. So that was based on the assessment of the current and replacing it at the exact same style of current, where we would know that while we're looking at passing this to master plan, as the recommendations from the Parks and Rec Committee are for an improved playground. So it would use this amount of funds, and then anything to make it better would be a capital expense. And but that's typical to reserves. That's why they're like for like, not.
But I guess I'm looking at it saying, I think those replacement numbers are aggressive for at least the playgrounds, just in my view. That even if you're doing like for like, I don't think you're getting to that cost. I think it's gonna be more regardless.
Well,
Those are, I mean, we can take those, there's notes we can provide to the reserve advisors when they come next, but that'll be in 2027 for things that the community is looking at or comments to, and they do take those into consideration.
Yeah, which if you look at line 307 on the reserve study, that's where they have the reserve study every 2 years.
Yes, we just last line.
Fill dirt, to fill back in concrete that was taken out of the last playground
20 something.
in the concrete.
Right.
So they include the astroturf that you're gonna.
we're becoming the king of playgrounds. And it's just, it's unbelievable. And then we did a splash pad now too for the kids too. The playgrounds are unbelievable. What we're looking at spending on. What's a synthetic lawn for a couple $100,000?
The
That's artificial turf.
artificial turf.
Yeah, where?
Where are you looking?
Where are you
They're
looking?
itemized out by location.
Don't know where is it gonna go? Where's the synthetic turf?
That's what I said. Can you tell me the
There's
line you
multiple
see?
different locations.
It's only one item.
Playground safety surface synthetic lawn for
Yeah.
$192,000.
Is that side or is that?
What's on?
Village? It's Village.
Yeah, comments is.
We spent $192,000 for synthetic turf there?
The,
Building expenditure.
Okay, so then there is flexibility here.
Yes, but the recommendation is still to fund that amount because there are items that you're gonna have to escalate that you're currently funding.
and things to
Can
consider.
you come with that list and show us? You need
It's
to,
gonna need to be escalated until it breaks.
That's why we bring,
then you're talking about having a slush fund.
bring that month.
It's identified, you
That's the,
need to fund.
that's the point of the reserve study, is so you're probably putting money away to replace things.
Disagree.
It's itemized and you're getting a professional to come in and to tell you what the individual expenditures are and totaling up, not to have a slush fund and just in case we have this or we have that. We do have.
I'm not saying it's a slush fund, I'm saying you can defer this, but this has to be escalated so they offset each other, but you still fund it.
We're saying that we can defer the synthetic lawn. You gotta tell me what's gonna come in that we have.
I don't know what's gonna come in.
But often, and then year after year, though, that deferment is usually absorbed by what that end of year balance is and the adjustments to contribution following year.
It's really unknown.
I think it's fair.
The unknown.
I mean, if the finance committee wants to complete this exercise, I think that's absolutely fine. I would say that we're just recommending that those recommendations almost be provided to the board. We can workshop it with the board based on what the management's recommendations is, because I don't think what Lauren's saying is we will see eye to eye on the reserves.
But I'm asking you, why can't you come with what you think is going to happen?
How am I supposed to see the future, Mike?
You've got this whole reserve study. And you look at the next year and the next year and the next year and you say, I can see that item's gonna have to come up earlier, this item's gonna have to come up earlier. That's why we pay this person to do this, so we can be specific and not just.
And they've provided their expertise. I'm not gonna sit here and adjust this reserve study. I am not the engineer and I'm not the expert on these maintenance items. They are.
But I think at the end of the
I'll
day,
give you a
it
different-
goes back to the board to decide whether to do something
Yeah.
or not. The reserve can be what they project should be maybe, but if it is research, like you get the engineer for this roof and it says there's 5 years, well, then the reserve study is worthless for that one item. And it's gonna be 110,000 5 years from now, whatever it may be. So it's an unknown, it's there, they're doing their best guess of when things come on.
So, I mean, if
That's what it
finance
is.
committee wants to go through the exercise with the reserve study, we'll provide you the information and we'll provide you additional info, but we just wanted to be upfront with you that our recommendation is going to differ from yours.
And like
Well,
the
if
other
we-
thing too, one other thing is, what's the ending balance gonna be based on what's been reserved for 2025? Right? If you're gonna underspend that by 200 or 300,000, that adjusts something different.
No. After the last board meeting, they're within 298,000 of what was approved by the board for 1.1 million.
Something else we'll have to take into account of, if it's going over this year,
It's gonna be.
for items that aren't even on here, then how do we compensate that? So maybe instead of going down, it's gonna go up.
So again, what I would like to see is an analysis of 2025 as to the reserve study and all the spending that we've done compared to the listed items.
So the reserve study anticipates 2.5 million in expenditures. You pull out the 900,000 that's attributable to 851. It's a 1.5 million anticipated spend, 1.6 million anticipated spend.
Right, but the finance committee had it at 1.1 or approved it last year. So we should not be spending $1.5 million.
There was no recommended expenditure. It was a recommended funding.
But again, if they're at 1.5,
And we were, if it's,
Funding amount is different than the recommended expenditure amount. They're two different things.
well, how is that?
It's on the fund.
On the funding plan, your funding base goes up and down based on anticipated expenditures.
You can pick that number out of the air. We got the 1.1 by taking out the 851 expense and then some other items.
But that's based on anticipated expenditures. They're two different things in the reserve study.
The expenses in the reserve study, the two things that were taken out were 51 and 53,000 for the athletic field at the Civic Quarter. That was the two items that offset us down to the 1.1.
Right.
That was the terminology.
And
Again.
and that should be what's spent.
That's for your funding, not sure.
That's what, it should be.
So probably spending what's not in
What Lauren's saying, and I think this is right, you have a beginning balance and an ending balance. And so you need to take those into account too and look at the rolling numbers in the fund. Typically, those would make it easier because there's gonna be some left over each year. We've never spent to a negative position. So your funding plan is gonna be supplemented by the beginning balance, and then that carries over each year. So that's a plus.
So the first tab is the itemized lines and then the 30 years worth of
Right.
recommendations. The second one shows you your anticipated or your expected fund balance at the end of the year, your anticipated contribution amount, and your anticipated expenditure amount. And this is the recommended fund balance at the end of the year.
We fund whatever we say the expenses.
No, they're two.
Yes.
No.
So,
Jim,
but
What's in the budget, what's in the budget?
No, that's your contribution amount. That's not an expense amount.
that's
It's
an
a
operating contribution.
If we increased it last year from 1.1 to 1.4 on the financials, then we're funding 1.4 and the residents are paying more in dues because of that expenditure.
Yes, that's,
Because of that funding.
and that's funding the reserve fund. That's not what the reserve fund is telling you should be spent that year.
When you try.
And more simple,
Doesn't mean we have to agree that the reserve study is 100% correct.
that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the funding number that you're saying in the budget is not the authorized expenditure.
Authorized by who?
It's not what the funding plan is saying is expenditure. Last year, your funding was supposed to, your reserve study said you should fund 1.4 to 2025, but your expected expenditures in 2025 in that same reserve study was 2.5 million. They're not the same number.
I totally disagree with you.
So here's what we're referencing. It's not shown.
Again, just looking at it, Jim, it looks like the reserve contribution never matches the anticipated expense.
Exactly.
It's fluctuating every time.
But whatever the board approves and is spent,
No, that's a
it's
contribution.
expense.
No, Jim, that's a contribution to the reserve fund. That's not the authorized expenditures. for
So
the
even
year.
here in the reserve study for this year, for 2025, the recommended contribution, it wasn't working. The recommended contribution is 1.4 million. That's what you, out of your operating budget, contribute. The expected expenditure by the reserve fund is still 2.5 million. So yes, it's expending more. We do agree that $900,000 of that 2.5 is not expected to be spent as that's the reserve.
I guess to the point of the reserve study, how inefficient it is, I believe 2025 was the 1.43, and they are just using an inflation calculator for every single year.
Right.
They're not calculating off anything in particular. So that's how rudimentary it
Right.
is. That
Exactly.
that number, we can see it, and that's what it started at, of maybe they're saying 1.4 million every single year for the next 30 years, adjusted for inflation, but
No,
is that truly what we're?
But
they're running an algorithm.
But does everybody agree that if we say the replacement fund that we're gonna have to do is gonna be $2 million, just $1 million, that the residents are paying dues to compensate for the extra million?
No, that's not how reserve studies work.
I'm talking about financials.
No, that's a contribution. That's not the expenditure.
It's in the P and L. If we go 1.4 in the P and L, it affects the operating results and it inflates the
No,
the dues.
the expenditure in your P and L in your operating account is your operating account contributing to the reserve fund. The reserve fund expenditures are not tied to the number in your operating P and L
At all.
at all.
Okay, I get
It's tied to
Yeah,
the
that's true.
allocation that you're pulling from the
That's
HOA.
Exactly.
That's true, Lauren, but if we put 1.1 million in or 1.4, the fees are gonna be higher if we put 1.1.
Right.
Yes,
But the problem is if the reserve study and you think it was a thoughtfully prepared reserve study, we should follow the funding guidelines suggested by the reserve engineer. So if they say you should be funding and there's no error, either by inflation or what the individual line item for categories, right? But less than
I can tell you from a historical perspective, we have followed pretty much their numbers consistently.
Right.
Last year, with that $2.5 million number, it was just wrong. It was actually wrong. So there was an anomaly, and now we've dealt with that, and now we're looking.
So what do we think about the totality, Alex, of the end net fund balance of the adequacy of where we are?
The 2025 anomaly was them anticipating a lot of the town hall work coming out of the reserve fund.
Which they should have.
Well, they came in August of 2024. They saw, based on their analysis, that we were going to be doing this renovation. All of those items are replacement of current asset. So funding those out of your replacement fund is correct.
No, we agreed last year.
But that-
And all 851 would come on cap.
Nobody's arguing with you about that, Jim,
Correct.
but from the reserve study perspective, that is still an allocated expense that you could pull from your reserve study, which is why we didn't really push back last year when we didn't do the full 1.4 contribution that was recommended. in the
So
reserve.
you would agree that the fund balance, because you're gonna do this out of the capital fund, would have been overstated funding last year. So then you have to take a new look this year and say, what do we actually need to fund, knowing where we're gonna pull the money to replace 851 or other things? But otherwise, reserves items should come out of the reserve fund.
So based on that, the
The 25
expenses,
anomaly was 851.
so based on that, the expenses in 2025.
I mean, that's a
sit at
permanent
2
difference between what the reserve engineer said you need to have in the fund. Because you're never gonna take that 900 to
Yeah.
That's
so-
why-
the reserve fund,
So
you
we
can take it out of the capital fund.
Yeah, so that's showing that we would expend 2.57 out of the reserves this year. We notated, we all agreed that 900,000 was earmarked there that isn't going to be spent, which brings that down to what?
So that increase, so in theory, that should help you keep the funding requirement down, because you're gonna take more money out of the capital fund to repair and replace 851, and you're not gonna need as much reserve fund. Right, so my only question is, where are we adequacy reserves now, and gonna be in 12/31/25?
So why don't we make this recommendation? You guys take this offline and do your analysis of the reserve fund. We'll do a projection of year-end balance of the fund balance based on anticipated, which is 2025. And then the next time we meet and discuss the budget, we can bring.
You're gonna send it to me. There's no internet. Is internet working?
Yeah.
No.
General thought though, it's been too much. I think anywhere from say 1.2, 1.4 is the sweet spot overall what that number should be. I think 1 million might be a little too aggressive. When I was looking at between 1 and 1.4, we're gonna land somewhere in between there.
Pretty sure we discussed in a previous finance meeting that we entered this year under the expected fund or the fund balance.
Yeah.
However, we know that they only, while we shorted funding it by 400,000, we knew that the expense for 850 was 900,000. So this year, if we spent everything else in 2005 that it says, we still should be up 500,000, which should cover what we were behind next year. So without a rudimentary level, we are looking close to what it's
Let's
projected.
just do our analysis. They can do their review of the reserve study, and when we come back together again, we'll discuss further.
Can you also have Christian look at the reserve study to see if everything's appropriate or start spot checking things in future years? Does something need to be pulled forward so we have a better reflection of when we put this budget together? This is the expectation that finance is providing. It's gonna be done next year.
There's differences when you see, I looked at the artisan perfume one, right? And there are definitely things that they might put in the budget that you're never gonna spend the money in that specific item, but you don't want to underfund the reserves in general. You might have some switches within a category, a category.
Yeah, I mean, 851 was an anomaly in that we're truly taking it from capital, but everything else is more of you're just pushing it to different years.
By taking it out of the capital, to the extent you have all this 0.5% payments coming in, right? You keep the legal reserve better funded if you keep putting most or all of the required money in, right? Because you don't want to underfund it, because then you just, all you're doing is kicking the can down the road to somebody else.
And, we wouldn't have this conversation if you gave us a budget with a 3% increase, right? We're talking about 18% and how we fit.
I
this
get it.
together. So that.
I understand. I understand.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, that's why I think we're putting up a fight to management here and we may need to do some wiggle room here.
I mean, we just wanted to put it up front that we're gonna have a different opinion, because in prior years, we've
I
had
want
different
my neighbors-
recommendations and the committee felt blindsided, so we didn't want to blindside the committee.
Yeah, no, you're good. I think there's more commentary, there should be, so.
I think, no, I don't think there's a commentary. I think their feet is in the cement. They're committed to their position. I don't think you're gonna change it.
So you think you should do it? You think you should be doing a reserve study next year, which has only been 2 years?
No, I don't think it should be, because you
Are not stuck in the.
We're gonna say next, but that's a line that in that year, it's, and that we will agree to say, we think defer that.
So I don't think they're stuck in the ground. I think they're firm, but there is. Sorry.
I had two quick things. One, can we get somebody working on a communication for the community, maybe using this and the whole canola thing and the 851 and the budget process and whatever else? I think the board's got to get that out sooner rather than later. And I think this is a good forum for that. So if you would take this and condense it.
Yes.
Jacob's looking at me like I'm talking French.
No, makes sense. I think we'll also.
did with any changes to the budget, because it reflects percentages.
Well, I don't think you're gonna send the whole thing. You're just gonna send about one page. I think this is too much. You just want to get the.
Sent it out to the community. It was
Okay.
for board and committee.
Okay, so just one page that goes through the canola thing, the 851 and something about the budget. I think that's what.
I got it.
Yeah.
So I guess the time for a first review.
That's my second point.
Yeah, we'll probably confer with the
You're
treasurer.
gonna want to have.
Maybe have it sent
One through
provided.
next week.
See the.
I know they want to. I don't.
Updates we made of where we.
But they didn't visibility into the process.
What is the?
Where are they today?
What is the change based on the change?
I just want to do special assessment because of canola. I mean, I think we should just do every year a special assessment for that difference. That would definitely make it very, very. Exactly.
You're coming down to 16, when I changed the service area number. I didn't change that for it yet.
I'm curious if you do take out the 500 contribution, what's that drop it down to for the percentage?
What?
The
I
5
played that game earlier.
So that's some flexibility with that number, obviously not going to zero. You guys think we should do something else, but there's some flexibility there. There's some flexibility in the rules. So that's a couple things that there's an opportunity to get closer to that 10%. Yeah. Yep. I think. Reserve.
Okay, when are we gonna meet again? What are-
So for the June financial review, we're proposing the 15th as the date.
When is the?
The ninth.
Then next Wednesday.
You just give them what it is and tell them have fun.
I will not be there. I will be on a.
Presentation to the boards on that?
On the 9th or the 15th?
No, they want to do a line by line review because they felt left out last year, and it's how they've done it in the prior years.
So just the boys that they felt left out, but they were the board that decided to cancel the meeting for the line by line ahead of time. So just make sure that's on the record, that that was a board decision, not a finance or management decision.
Yeah,
We never had the budget go to them in
Yeah, I
this
know.
shape. We had typically had 2 passes. We've never in my history, almost, and I've been on the finance.
May I ask who said they felt left out?
I'm not saying that on public.
I mean, the finance committee, you can provide your recommendation to the board to not do it.
Jim and I groaned and squeaked and did all we could in the audience when it came up and nobody listened to us.
I would strongly recommend that we do not have,
I would say at the earliest be at the board in July, but no.
yeah, because again,
It really should be in July at all.
I'm on,
not just that
I'm up in Wisconsin.
week 16th, the 9th.
Yeah.
I'll be back until, I've got a celebration of life in my state. Not messing with that.
So we need to have a meeting the week of the 14th for the financial review and committee approval before it goes to the board to meet for the metric purposes.
I'm gone that entire week.
Did we have at least quorum of the rest of the committee?
Which day are you looking at?
The week of the 14th, Tuesday or Wednesday?
14th of Monday of July.
Yeah, 15th or 16th.
2 weeks from
That's
today,
what we're-
on the 15th.
Oh,
This would be primary for just monthly financial review.
oh, okay.
And then if you want to add the reserve study conversation in there, so that's not,
Why can't you do the 11th or something like that?
it's too hard to get the draft financials out that early.
Yeah, they can't produce it that early in the month.
Oh, we would just be short the June financials?
Yeah. I mean, we could do a secondary budget.
I don't think the current budget is gonna have that much, the current projection is gonna have that much to do with this. We're gonna work through some of these other items yet. I think that task,
We still need the committee to review the financials and approve them before they go to the board. That's one of the, that's one of the contractual.
You can just give them, yeah, throw us your comments or something.
Okay.
Is everybody else available?
I'm good.
What day are you talking about?
15th or 16th.
Yeah.
I'm fine with those days.
Yeah, so we'll have a quorum.
Check room availability and send.
I'm not voting. So. But could we all agree that we make a recommendation to the board that we do not do that workshop next week?
I agreed.
Agree.
Agree.
I would recommend August.
Yep.
August workshop.
So,
I mean, it's gonna be counterproductive.
I'm not even gonna be there. So.
yeah.
And what they've gone through historically,
You want me to-
they get into the weeds and they come up with recommendations.
So is the chair is also out
That's right.
next week.
Not here.
Can we propose a secondary review of the week of the 21st?
Hmm.
Possibly either the 21st or the 22nd. That's Monday or Tuesday. For a second pass of the budget.
Good. July.
It's fine.
21st or what?
Or 22nd,
I
Monday.
can make the 22nd, 21st I'll be in transit yet.
So let's tentatively hold the 22nd for a secondary budget review, and then we will check.
Second, did you?
22nd,
22nd.
5:30.
Yeah, 22nd at 5:30 for a secondary budget review, and the 15th or 16th based on room availability for the June financial review and reserve.
Yeah.
The 15th or the 16th?
We also have
We'll check.
an entity
Room
that
available.
does like bulk services agreements for communities. They want to come and give a presentation to the board, but we thought it would better sit with this group in terms of if it's even something you want to recommend to the board. They want to give a small presentation to you at your July meeting. Like internet services, things like that. There's a way they've worked it out where the community can gain revenue from what they're offering.
They're lobbying pretty hard.
What would they be replacing?
Have you done any research on them yet?
Comcast, Smart.
Have you researched them yet?
They've actually provided some revenue back to other Grand managed properties and real managed properties.
So are they endorsed by Grand Manners?
Not specifically, no, but they've approached us asking if the community is interested.
Can one of you do some background checks on this?
Yes.
Yeah. Let's do an internet back.
Convergent services. Convergent services.
Ask for a couple references and get that information first before we invest time.
Did we have existing contracts with Smart City out for so many years?
It's ending. I think that's why they're reaching out.
I'd ask them for what they're doing is bundling, I'm sure, and acting as a.
Yeah, they have a presentation. I'll ask them to send the presentation and we'll do some background.
I'd like to go to the top 3 items where they've been able to show savings and what they are, what's the before, and what's the after.
For the whole community or
Well-
just,
Whole community.
yeah, I mean, they're going up against Smart City and. And then they're basically asking if we want to partner with them to make this a revenue
And how
line.
they gonna wireless?
How would this sit
How
out?
would they, how would you put their own one?
I'll push out their collateral information to you. I just put that in your.
I mean, both those two groups have
Backwards. So the
streets.
users, it's been privileged.
I like Smart City.
Like, they must have some approved vendors.
Yeah.
So what's that list look like? Those are the people that said, we'll deal with you as a consolidator, an aggregator. Yeah, that's the only way they're gonna create value, scale and become an aggregator. So what do they have in their arsenal? Who's in the barn?
Yeah.
If it looks enticing, we should look at it.
Again, it's a vendor, come up for bid and people present what their offers are, so. City is.
No, I don't wanna get caught up on the sales pitch though, till I know.
Yeah.
My God,
Send out the collateral.
it's gonna be smoke and mirrors. I've been through too many of those.
Okay, we done?
Yep.
Report?
Good.